So there's like a number of pieces at play that we're going to be working with. One is creative writing, and like let's learn some techniques, let's practice techniques, let's jump into and immerse in the act of the creative expression and the joy that comes with that. You know, the like almost lishma, just for the sake of doing it, like dayenu, we're writing, we're expressing, and the joy and pleasure of that. I think it's like children play, you know, like this is for me at least, writing is my playground, my favorite playground. And so I bless us that we should just be in the joy of expression. That should be dayenu, that's already enough. But secondly, that clearly we are women with mission. Like we're here with a purpose, a soul purpose. Just by the very fact of our existence, and then by the fact of our existence, those of us here in Jerusalem, so that we should become better, cleaner, clearer, stronger vessels for our mission, whatever it may be. That we know that expression and writing is just one of the key aspects at play of power and influence and voice in the world today, and that the more that we sculpt our voice and sculpt our vision, like the better influences will be in the world to bring it to higher, more illumined, Kedushitic places. So that would be like the second intention is our mission, each of us, and empowering ourselves as people of voice and vision. And those are really the two pillars of what we're going to be doing here. Is enjoying it and just deepening into it and gaining our skills around it, sharpening our sense of vision, and then our sense of expression of the vision. So I don't know if you saw, like I kind of put out a little video about the power of the 70th year and the arrival of the modern state of Israel at 70, and what does that mean for us, and just touch on that very quickly. But I think we're all kind of in touch with those themes already, but just to know that this space is infused with the themes of 70 and all that 70 represents, which of course is Ayin, which is I. The gematria for 70 is connected to the letter Ayin, which means I. And so that this is really an arrival for our people and each of us personally and nationally at a place of greater vision. And so it's an arrival, and it's also an injunction. Like that's what we should be focusing on now, is accessing this vision. And accessing the vision is huge and important, but without then having the right tools to express that vision, it only gets us so far. So my hope in doing this class was like, yes, here we are, we've accessed vision, we're at this place where that's what we know we need to be focusing on, is creating a higher vision. And now, like, how do we sculpt and hone our tools around giving expression to what that vision is? So that's what we're going to be, those are the themes that we're going to be working with. And you can stop in for one week and not the rest of them, or all of them. It's kind of, each one will be its own standalone session, but it also will have like a build to it. And we're going to be working with themes from the Sfirot, the Kabbalistic themes from the Sfirot, and other Jewish principles and spiritual ideas, as well as creative writing ideas. And a lot of what today actually is about, which kind of surprised me, but a lot of what we're going to be doing is a little bit more technical in terms of writing technique, with a spiritual side to it as well. So if anybody just wants to say like a word about what your own intention is, or if you don't want to say it out loud, you can write. And anybody who's watching, on Facebook or whatever, can write your own intention for what you want to be getting out of, this time that you've set aside, and dedicated to your own growth as a person of vision and expression. So if you want to say or write your intention in a phrase or a statement, then this would be the time to do that. You could even put it up as a prayer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I know what I mean. I need more sort of focus for using the tools that I know that I have.
Yeah.
To find how to really share that and then use that.
Yeah. You know that you got it in you, and like, how do I really share it and really put it to good use?
And it's sort of in a more focused way.
In a more focused way.
Like, oh, I think it would be nice to write. No.
Yeah.
It's
Great. Cool. So that certainly can be one thing we're working with is like, here's what honing in on what it is that I want to be expressing in the world, and then how do I go about really doing that, and using this as a framework, and a structure for taking it to that next step of manifestation. Yeah, please God. Cool.
So I recently started painting, and this morning I actually discovered that I could put a story to the painting, and it becomes a profound experience when I'm able to do that. And then I saw this workshop within minutes after having finished that narrative.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow,
amazing.
It's a opportunity. Writing is an opportunity to tap into the depth of who we are and bring it to the surface. So my intention is to just keep finding those little well springs of inner knowledge, and
cool. I love it. Just like the way that it just happened to all flow out.
It just happened.
Yes. This is the beauty of being involved in creative expression. Is like there's a flow that occurs in our lives, I think, when we immerse in it and allow space for it, and instead of just our routine. And we're going to be looking at that, like the power of moving out of like the routine and just into that place of more flow, and then like things happen and synchronicities, and yeah, beautiful. Cool.
Thank you.
Bring it. That's fine. Okay, but to definitely hold it for yourself. And yeah. Okay. Great. Fabulous. So, given that this is our first session, the theme that we're going to be working with today is around eyesight, but fresh eyes, really seeing with fresh eyes, and that as a technique in writing, and bringing a freshness to our writing, and B, letting our writing bring a freshness to our lives. Okay, so bringing the fresh vision to what expression we do have, and then allowing the expression itself to bring a newness to our lives, and a freshness to our lives. And that's so on the one hand, the writing is the thing we want to produce, but it's also it is the process, and we already, just in the act of doing it, we experience life differently. We have this principle in Torah that if you want to understand any idea, the best and first place to look is the first place that it appears in the Torah. So if you want to understand what love is about, so you go and look at the first time that the word ahava appears in the Torah, and that kind of holds the code for unpacking what love is about. So, I love to think about, we do couples workshops. We always, at the beginning of the couples workshops, we always ask couples to say, remember that first moment when you saw your partner and were like, oh, that's the one, that first moment of recognition, and something about that first holding with our eyes is very potent. It has this concentration of energy to it that's really, it's almost like the seed, this little compact seed that holds what will become the huge tree in it. So that first moment of encountering something has its own essence to it and its own power to it. So if you look at, what is, the first time that Jacob sees Rachel, he pushes.
Pulls off his sheep.
Well, that's Rebecca seeing Isaac. She falls off her camel. Right, and what does that mean? Like somehow that becomes indicative of some aspect of the relationship, right? Jacob seeing Rachel, he pushes the rock off, he weeps, right? The prophecy, the teaching is that he had a prophecy that they were not going to be buried together, and that's why he's weeping. Just something about that first moment of seeing her, like he accessed a prophetic vision, right? Adam and Chava, I'd like to think about, like, what was Adam's first time to see Chava? He was asleep, he was anesthetized, and he wakes up and boom, there she is. We know that there's the essence of something can be found right there in that first grasp of perception. So there's something powerful to that. And, the idea of newness is such a key theme when it comes to our spiritual practice. in the Psalms, Shiru Lashem Shir Chadash, sing to God a new song. Has to be a new song. In the Haggadah we say, V'nomar lefanav shira chadasha. May we recite before you a new song. Every day we pray, Or Chadash al Tzion Ta'ir. God, cause a new light to shine on Zion. Ezekiel pleads to God, give me a lev chadash and a ruach chadasha, a new heart, a new spirit. What's up with this? Why all of this this focus on newness? Again, it's because something extraordinary happens when we're in fresh, the realm of fresh sight. And of course, Zen, there's the concept of beginner's mind that we see in so many spiritual traditions. But the idea of beginner's mind is that this is the space when I'm first seeing something, I don't know anything about it. I'm standing at the precipice of the unknown and looking at something for the first time. I don't have my old routine eyes perspective on the thing. There's a newness with that, beginner's mind. On the one hand, the beginner's mind is like, it's a little uncomfortable because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not an expert yet. There's like a vulnerability to it. There's an insecurity to it, which I think is also important and key. We can't just be afraid of the insecurity that comes with something new, but just like a willingness to move forward into something that's unknown, and the energy that comes with that danger almost is also heightens perception. There's a heightened perception when there's a sense of an unknown or a sense of danger. All of these things we can use as we're going about our act of writing. So beautifully, Norman Lamb has a beautiful essay about newness versus renewal versus novelty. Novelty, he says, is a seeking of thrills, as opposed to renewal is the thrill of seeking. We want to be in that space of renewal and a sense of, wow, I'm just thrilled by the act, this quest. I'm thrilled by the act of encountering this unknown and of seeking out something new. One of our first commandments is, of course, like to honor the new moon. Okay? Like the chodesh, the word for month, is connected to chadash, newness. And one of the teachings there is, the halakha says that it takes about 30 days to get encrusted in a habit. And neuroscience has also shown us this. Neuroscience usually says it takes about 2 weeks. But I think there's probably also something to be said for the 30-day, for a month. If you do something repeatedly for a month, it moves out of the space of newness into more of a habit. And we want that in certain areas of our lives, but we also want to move out of it in certain areas of our lives. We want to break out of the incrustations, and a new moon, a new month gives us the chance to do that. So we're going to be looking at the end a little bit at this idea, almost like a psychological piece of work around what habits we have in our lives right now that we kind of want to be breaking, and how we can use this to apply to places in our lives where we want to be moving out of our habitual ways of acting and into a fresh place. That's going to be one of our goals going on at the same time here. Of course, we know that the word regel, foot, is connected to hargel, habits. Because when you're walking, it's just, you don't have to think about walking. It's just something that you do habitually and naturally. And that's where the word regular comes from. Regular, this idea, yeah, you didn't know that? I love that. I love the places where the Hebrew actually really seeps into the culture. We become regulated to things, because, just like we're walking. They say, Jerusalem, if I forget you, may I forget it's like forgetting my right hand. Because what is your right hand? A right hand, just like your feet, is like this place you don't even have to think about. Also my right hand, I don't have to think about what my hand's doing. It does its own thing. It's these places where we have this regulated mindset and habitual mindset that serves us in a lot of ways. And thank God, we're drivers who are habituated to driving. That's how we drive well, is because it's become like second nature, and I can do 20 things at the same time as I'm driving, and that's a gift and a benefit. It's good that our mind learns how to work in patterns and in habits. It's helpful to us until it's not. And we need to move out of that habitual mindset. Certainly when it comes to vision, certainly when it comes to our writing. How many times do we move into a habitual place with our spiritual practice, or how we're viewing Israel? There's real limitations to that. We become so encrusted in, oh yeah, this is Israel, and this is what it means, and this is who I am, and this is what. But no, it's so much bigger. This is God, and this is what God means to me. This is my spiritual practices, and this is how I do it. But it can be so much bigger than that. So this is an opportunity to just like kind of break out of some of that. Okay, so let's move into writing for a second and how writing does that. So I'm gonna write this up here actually, because one of the things I love about poetry in particular is the interaction that we have with the letters and with the words themselves is an experience. And poetry takes us out of that place where like the words that we're saying are so regular and regulated and habitual, and into a place where we can see the words with a freshness. So watch this, and maybe you'll recognize this poem, William Carlos Williams. Okay? And watch what happens when you read this. So much depends upon a red wheel, barrow. So you see, just right there, you thought that was the end of the sentence. That was going to be the regular thing. So much depends upon a red wheel. Right, got it. But then you get the next line, barrow. A wheelbarrow, oh. And all of a sudden the mind is like, has to like awaken a little bit. Oh wait, that was not expected. That was a surprise. We wouldn't have gotten that if it had just, continued with normal syntax and, okay. So as you're seeing this, just notice your experience as you're reading it. Glazed with rain. Water. We're almost done. I shouldn't tell you that, sorry. Beside the white. And then the last sentence, the last word. Chickens. Period. Okay? So it's one sentence. So much depends upon a red wheelbarrow glazed with rain, water, beside the white chickens. And so for people who hate poetry, this is like the exact example of why they hate poetry. They're like, what is that supposed to, what? Right? But this is a very famous poem. It's called The Red Wheelbarrow by William Carlos Williams. Anybody who knows poetry knows this poem. If this is like the Mona Lisa of poetry, this is one of them. It's an example of imagist poems where you move out of talking about a theory or an idea and you just focus on a visual encounter and a moment. There's like a meditative experience that you get when you read this poem. Hopefully. Okay, take your piece of paper and a pen and poke a hole through your page. A little one, little bitty hole. Okay. Yeah?
An empty piece?
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Empty or full.
Just in the corner?
Yeah, sure.
Is that what you said?
Wherever.
Oh, okay.
Now look, okay, so look at this cup. Okay, seeing it? See it? Meditatively seeing it? Now pick up your piece of paper and look at the cup through the hole.
Without seeing the rest of the cup.
1 second. Not big enough.
You can look at this one. You can look at this one. Same sight that you just had, but now you're seeing it through that hole in the piece of paper, framing it.
I could paint that.
You should paint that.
I could paint that.
Yeah, I love it that the artist in you was like, oh, I should paint that. What did you notice when all of a sudden you're not just looking at it, but you're looking at it through this framing of the little hole in the paper?
It's a zoom in.
It zooms you in.
Well, you have no context,
Uh-huh.
right? It could be anything, really. You're seeing color.
Yeah.
You're just seeing the color and maybe the texture, but you have no sense that it could have easily been the wall.
Yeah.
Or,
I love that story of the six blind men who are each touching a different part of an elephant. and they're asked, what are you touching? And everybody has a different answer. But what if you take the same, one of those blind men, and have him touch the elephant 6 different times in 6 different places? There's the metaphor of how we never really grasp the fullness of what something is, because we're all kind of like, we're blind. And we're like 6 different blind men touching the same thing will all say that it's, touching an elephant will all say that it's something different. That's the normal, the setup of the story. But here it's saying, what if you yourself were blind and you're touching the elephant 6 different times, and each time you're getting something different? You're getting another angle on an issue. Part of what we want to be doing as writers is taking the elephant that we're always writing about or that we want to write about and say, I'm going to touch it here, I'm going to have another experience of it over here. They're each going to be their own. I want to have a fresh encounter with that elephant.
So I'm sorry, but I can't help but thinking, we have a son with special needs, right, on the autistic spectrum. And one of the things with people with autism is they tend to look at the world through the whole, as opposed to seeing the bigger picture. And I sat with this therapist once, and what she did is she did this. She cut a small hole in the page and she put it over a photograph. And she said, "What do you see?" And then she slowly widened the hole to try to explain to him how it's important to see the context. I mean, not in those words, but to look broader and not just focus in. So my head is a little bit focused. Not just right.
So the autistic person needs to step out and see the broader picture. Well, I think what we're saying here is let's play with our perception. Let's use our writing as an opportunity to play with our experience of what we're perceiving, how we perceive our life, how we perceive the things that we do care about, how we perceive the things that we want to write about and that we want to express, and trying to see those fresh. Like, I always want to write about Israel and the return of the Jewish people. Like, that's my theme. I always want to talk about it. And I'm so bored of it. I'm so bored of the way I talk about it. I'm so done with it. Like, okay, here's another poem I'm going to write. No, I want to see it fresh. It's so much bigger. This thing that you want to write about, this thing that you care about, it's so much bigger than how you've seen it up to this point. How to access that vision of it. I know each of you has vision. We all have vision of what we want to, right? We want to say in a message. Mazel tov, we have that. But now, how can I see my vision even brighter, different, angled differently? How am I going to write about it from a fresh place inside of me, from a new song, with a lev chadash, with new eyes? Mary Oliver has a beautiful poem talking about death. When it's over, I want to say, all my life I was a bride married to amazement. I was the bridegroom taking the world into my arms. How do we enter into that space of amazement at a cup? Amazement at, this idea, this vision that I want to give expression to. Entering into a state of amazement is the first portal in to vision. Entering into a state of amazement is the first portal into vision, and allowing myself to see something fresh and new and be shocked and be awakened by it. Nobody want to hear about your vision if they've heard about it 20 times already. You don't even want to hear about it. So let's do a little writing exercise. Let's get in there. So your hand, if I forget you, Jerusalem, may I forget my right hand. We say that because we want to be so connected to Jerusalem that it's a part of, it's like habit to me. Of course I'm connected to my right hand. Of course my right hand acts. And that's just naturally occurring. Look at your hand. You've seen it a million times. Try and look at it somehow right now afresh. And with those eyes of, wait, I've never seen this before. Write about your hand. It's take 2.5 minutes, write about your hand. Okay, try to wrap it up. Okay, now we're going to move over to Jerusalem. Write about Jerusalem. Again, 2.5 minutes. Write about Jerusalem. Okay, now finishing up that. Or you can just stop there. And now, think about the ways in which your writing is habitual. Like for me, like I can look at these 2 things I just wrote and be like, oh yeah, I just did that rhyming thing that I do every time I write. Look at your writing and see if there's anything in your writing that you already wrote, not to put it down, but are there places in there that are your habits? Are your writing habits? And maybe you have to be a writer to like be able to identify that. But even look at it. What did you do the same between the two pieces? Did you do the 2 pieces differently? You know, I know for me, like in the first one, when I wrote to my hand, I wrote you da 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 da, and I addressed the hand. Then I went over to the Jerusalem and I'm like you da 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 da. Wait, there's a writing habit. Could I have maybe had a different perspective? I mean, there's something to say about your signature way of writing, your style. You know, like we have a way that we wake up in the morning and we dress, and it's our style, mazel tov, you know. But right now, even just giving awareness to, oh, there it is. There was a habit. And now go back and try and do them again without your habits. Totally fresh, though. Totally fresh. How does it come out? Then. No pressure. I'm actually going to turn off the Facebook. Bye, you guys. Thanks for coming on. We're going to pick this up again after people share some of their writings so that we can just have some privacy for the people here.